So Rachel, you're a first year PhD, so I know your research is quite new, but can you tell me a little bit about your research?
Yeah, so my research is looking at representations of America and Americans in English print culture from the discovery in 1492 up until the establishment of the Jamestown colony in 1607. And I'm planning on splitting the thesis into three main areas. So the first area will look at the association of America in European minds with earlier classical and medieval concepts such as the monstrous races and Aristotle's climate theory, and look at how these were adapted to fit the American environment. The second section will look at specific aspects of Indian culture such as clothing, dining practices, warfare, to see how these were represented by Europeans and how this can tell us about their opinion of the other and their opinion of themselves as well. The third section will look at the commoditization of America, particularly the Spanish lust for gold and the English belief that they were able to tame the American environment and utilize it for their own benefits.
Wow, it sounds like you are taking on quite a big project there. Can you tell us a little bit about how you're accessing the source material?
So at the moment, I'm still looking at digitised versions of my sources through EBO because most of them are available through that source. But I think it will be important for me to look at them as material objects as well. So look at the physicality of my primary material, because you can find out information about price, circulation, possible readership that will enable me to interpret the material more effectively. And I'm also going to try and contextualise them as much as possible. So that means looking at the general context in which they were produced, but also looking at the specific context of the people involved with producing it and what other works they had produced as well, as again this will affect the interpretation of that material.
So what's unique about your research? Why are you undertaking it and why is it important?
I think my research is unique and important in two respects. The period I've chosen to look at and also the combination of sources that I'm using. So in the current historiography, historians who have looked at the English context tend to focus on the later 16th century and the 17th century, so when English explorers are actually going over to America and exploring for themselves. So they focus, because of this, they focus on sources written by English explorers, people like Drake, Raleigh, and later John Smith. So what I'm trying to do is extend it, and I'm trying to look at a greater combination of sources. So I will be looking at those English pen sources from the late 16th century, but I'll be comparing them with translated sources that were first produced on the continent to see whether or not there is a sort of common, uniform European culture that informs these representations, or whether there is a specific English one, or whether indeed there are both.